Alright, Bonehawks, this video is all about Homelander, and today we're going to go over our options against him, strings, special moves, how to fight against him. Because when he released, he was kind of like not intended, so now this seems to be kind of what they want him to be. So we're going to go over and, yeah, just see where his weaknesses lie and how we can exploit them, or maybe not, and where we just have to hold stuff. Sometimes that's fighting games for you. So, that being said, let's get into it.
Accept your death.
Alright, so we're going to start off with the strings here, and this is where Homelander is particularly strong. He doesn't really have any gaps in his strings. There's only one string that has a gap in, and that's because the string has a throw in it. So if we set Johnny Cage here to reversal shadow kick, we can tell, see, 1, 2, can't armor that. 1, 2, 1, oh, punish that. Back 2, 2. We punished it again. Look at that. No gap in it. Yeah, so back 2, 2, 1 plus 3. The only one with a gap in it because, again, it has a throw, which technically kind of takes it out of the block string there. This move here is punishable. I believe it's his only punishable string at -10, and the frame data in the moves list is wrong. I believe it says it's -6. But if we take him off of reversal mode here, we do the move, it clearly says it's -10. So don't miss your punish on that one, that's important. Now Homelander will be mostly special moves and trying to mix you up, mainly with his normal, like this guy right here, which is 15 frames, which is pretty fast for a low, but he doesn't have any true overheads. He has to cancel into a string, into his air, and fly at you to do an overhead. So this is always easier said than done, but trying to react to the low and just kind of defaulting to low block to avoid this, and reacting to an overhead, especially in certain instances, like ranges like this, like usually where his low will hit, he tries to do the overhead, he'll fly right over you, so there's really no fear, or not much fear, I should say, of getting hit by that, because they can always like shimmy you, right, and go back, and, you know, something like that, hit you with that. That's going to be like the biggest mix that you see from Homelander, but just, you know, in this range, it's more than likely going to be the low, unless they got some crazy timing on the overhead. But yeah, they're going to try a low into whatever cameo they have. I have Kano equipped for a couple reasons here. Homelander has one of the best mids in the game. It's an 11 frame mid. Probably second only to Johnny Cage, to be honest. But it goes mid into high, so it doesn't really lead to anything depending on the cameo that he has. So if we go do, do. So you can actually duck the second hit because it is a high. So where you're going to see this a lot is where, with his staggers, like for example, we have that's +1, turns into a 10 frame mid, things like that. And then you're also kind of worried about the throw. So that's a good option there. But yeah, depending on the cameo that he has, he might be able to do something with it, like obviously with Shujinkydink, who gives you like a combo launcher. Then you have an 11 frame mid combo starter, which is pretty good, not going to lie. Again, I'm always biased for my pal Shujinkydink. But I mean, that's pretty good. 11 frame mid combo starter. And then of course you can cover that by Kano knives if you want into extra chip. So yeah, but just know 11 frame mid, very, very strong. His sweep is more of the range that you would want to look for the overhead, kind of the mix. But again, the sweep doesn't really lead to anything. You can't cancel it into anything or whatever. But it's a little bit scary for the mix in the sweep range. That's such crazy range for his sweep. It's actually crazy. And that's really it for his normals and combo strings. This is more a special moves character. Homelander really thrives off all those special moves, so we're going to go through those. First off, the straight off eye laser, it's a high. Even the enhanced version is a high, so you can just duck it. But again, the cameo like Kano, it's still a high. I meant to do Kano ball. Yeah, there you go. So you can jail into the... Make it a mid if you wanted to, depending on the cameo that you're using. Take this as a hint if you're a Homelander player as well. But yeah, depending on your character, like I think Johnny Cage at certain ranges can just duck this, but a good Homelander player is only going to use this kind of full screen or try to catch movement or something like that. So yeah, that's a high. Just duck it. It's not that hard. Also, secondly, is this one here. So there's kind of an idea of what Homelander can do to keep that safe, because otherwise it is -17, which depending on your character, like Quan Chi can standing 4 punish that. Shang Tsung might be able to enhance fireballs punish that. I haven't tested that. But it's important to know what full screen options your opponent has. to punish things like this. And at the end of the day, you can always just use it to move in closer to Homelander. Like that's 17 frames where he's just kind of stuck there. So if he's trying to zone you out or whatever, you could block that and then use that to kind of get in. So yeah. Oh, other side thing. His forward movement speed is much better than his backwards. Look at that backdash. Stubby little thing. But I mean, he also has other things that we're going to go into here too about how to move around the screen. So his parry only parries punch attacks. And then this hands one is a combo launcher. I'm not optimal with his combos, but that's just an idea. It actually does decent damage. It doesn't scale too much, whereas a lot of parries kind of do. So it's a nice option for him, but you got to be aware of it. If you see a Homelander kind of using this a lot, then make sure to go in with your kicks because it won't be able to parry it. Use Johnny Cage's forward 3 here. Yeah, and that can kind of deter Homelander from overusing this, but be aware of your own kind of patterns and stuff as well, because that's where Homelander can really kind of, instead of a counter poke, maybe he throws out a parry, kind of a thing, classic parry usage. So here's a scenario you might find yourself in against Johnny Cage, forward 2 and down 1. Instead of trying to interrupt, we just do the parry. So you got to be aware of that. You know, you can do that, but it's always the risk of the down 3s, the down 4s, the kicks. Those are the things that are going to counter the parry. But I haven't seen too many Homelanders doing this, maybe because of that risk. I'm not really sure. But just make sure to have a game plan formed about what your character can do in those situations so you're prepared. Parry! Alright, this next special move is very, very important to know how it works. With Mr. Homelander, it's the Diabolical Dash. And there's 4 options out of this, so I'm going to show you how to beat all of them. So, to beat 3 out of 4 of them, you just duck. The grab will whiff, the launcher will whiff, and he also has a kick. Now that kick is plus on block if you do block it, but then his final option is the knee. So that's a mid, so that's the only one that will hit you. But if you block it, he's minus 19, so it's a full combo punish. So most of the time, if you're just ducking, you can beat most of his options here. That knee is the one thing, and again, you can always do something like this. But I feel like that's going to be, if you'd have to bring Kano out first, or whatever cameo. So I feel like that's pretty, it's like free chip damage. He doesn't really get much from it unless he times it for after he hits you. Which you can kind of get a combo from there. Let's see if I can show you an example. Ooh, so close. I'm actually the best Homelander player ever, just so you know. So 251 damage, so it's not like super crazy intense damage. That's just off Kano. There's other cameos, obviously, you can do things with. But yeah, most of this is just a high. You can duck it. I find a lot of Homelanders will just throw this out. They'll just throw it out raw. But again, that's where it's scary is ranges like sweep range and that kind of a thing where you're going to be blocking and then boom, he's in. Maybe he launched you, maybe whatever. But yeah, understanding that those are your options there, and he can also kind of instant do it in the air by pressing up. Boop, boop. And that's the jump 1, so that's an overhead. So all of his attacks out of this stance are overheads, and they're also special cancelable, which can be kind of deceiving, and it was a little deceiving for me because I was trying to figure out how to punish this thing, because I was like, I'm playing online and everyone's beating me, and I went to lab this. I'm like, it's minus 18. Why am I missing my punish so much? Well, that's because it's special cancel. So you can do that into down 1, so you're not actually punishing that. But the thing about this move that's very interesting is the cancel advantage is actually negative. So it makes his next follow-up attack slower than it normally would be. So his down 1 being 7 frames, this would make this a 12 frame down 1. So if you threw out a down 1 after this, you would win trying to get his down 1 started. But if you tried to punish this with a high attack, his down 1 would go underneath it and punish you. So this is kind of the predicament. Outside of that, there's not really a whole lot that he can do that really beats you out here. Just the down 1 after, or I suppose any poke, but specifically the down 1 because it's the fastest button he has. Everything else would be quite a bit slower. That's the one thing that makes this a little bit tricky. If you're Johnny Cage, just 9 frame mid. You'll beat him every time. Just to show it, here we have him doing this, canceling into the down 1. There's the forward 3. kneeing him in the old ding dong. Homelander can be quite tricky with canceling into this, like say from his mid here into that. A little bit of pushback. Now you're playing like air footsies with him, and he comes down trying to smack you with that. So be very aware. A lot of his attacks in the air from his float stance kind of have some pushback on them. So it's not really the easiest thing to punish. So I would definitely lab this with your character and kind of see what they have to offer to kind of punish him. But yeah, he's just going to kind of float around and be obnoxious. Maybe sometimes cancel, like I said, from a string into that. Try and bait you into pressing a button or something. Then going back and hitting you, slapping you on the head into a combo with that. So just be kind of aware of the spacing and again what your character's options are at these particular spacings with Homelander. This is just a funny punch. Just punches a little tap on the top of the head there. That's so well designed. God Complex is super annoying just for like how like fast it can be. Like cancel a jump into the air. You think like, you know, maybe he's going up for that, come back down, but it's very punishable if you manage to block it. And yeah, the cancels, I haven't seen too many people doing cancels yet. It's coming. The good Homelander players will be doing it. So kind of just be ready for that. Just know that it is a thing that you can do. Into a throw. That throw was great. I love that. But yeah, just also know the range of it. If they're doing it out here, there's nothing to be scared of. There's no hit to hit you. Sky lasers, depending on the matchup, can be super annoying if you're just chilling up there in the corner of the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Hopefully you have a cameo that can kind of help you, or your character has a teleport or something. You can do something about it. But ultimately, it's not that scary. Different ranges, he has to go higher to get different ranges, which means he's farther off the ground, which means he's farther from safety. So if you can manage to kind of get underneath him, anti-arm or something like that, might try and fake you out with the God Complex, that kind of a thing. But ultimately, not super scary. Can be annoying again in certain matchups, but if you can get underneath him, that's not much safety. It's just going to be annoying if he starts going like this around. Oh, just kidding. Here's a throw. Aha! What's the point? Sweeping eye lasers are not super scary. Unless they're in the corner, but again, it's a super slow startup. Usually they'll combo off of that. And then go into some sort of a weird corner combo. I would be surprised if you saw too many Homelanders just doing this straight up raw. Because it is just such a slow startup. But it is +3, and it is a mid, so I mean, there is that. So just be aware of the move that it exists. Not much risk for them to do it in the corner unless you're going to try and interrupt. See if we can do our Johnny Cage shadow kick to interrupt the between the two attacks there. It should be easy. Yep, lots of room there. Your armored attack should be able to get through that gap. If you see Homelander's just kind of doing this, not really hit confirming it. I've run into a few already. Easy enough to just kind of reversal armor and be on your merry way. And lastly, his armored move, which is not the greatest armored move in the game, but it is a little bit awkward to punish. So make sure you lab that with your character, because there is quite a bit of pushback. He's -28, so you want to use some sort of a forward advancing string if you can. There with Johnny Cage with forward 4-3, but I mean, you can always just shadow kick as well. But yeah, not a fantastic armor move. Depending on the cameo he's using, you might be able to get like a combo or something off of it, but it's it's pretty lackluster, to be quite honest. His fatal blow is a mid, but he can do it from the air or on the ground. The air is where I've been hit by it more, because I know that he can't block in the air. So I'm trying to do something to hit him out of the air, and smartly he's just like, haha, you bet you didn't know I could do this. And just smokes me with it. So just be aware of that. It's caught me off guard myself a couple times. And that's it. Our options against Homelander. A good Homelander are going to mix up all these tools and make it far harder than what this video may have shown. But I want to make sure that you know your options or some ideas to get you started with what your character can do to fight against Homelander. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.